As leaders, coaches, and mentors in our own lives, we all come across a few individuals in our lives that really make a mark, leave a mark, and teach us about ourselves in leadership and in mentorship. So today I wanted to take a minute to talk about one of those people to me. His name was Justin Templeton. He was a staff sergeant, combat engineer in the military. We served together, and he spent a decent amount of time at combat too. With that being said, Jacob Rowe with the Coaches Rowe. And today we're going to talk about one leader that is no longer with us today. He passed away about 6 years ago. And I wanted to speak on him, his character, and what he influenced around him in his circles. Because it's important. It's super important in our lives that we take a minute to sit down and appreciate those who deserve to be appreciated and to be remembered and to be thought about. And we can't let the lessons die with the person. We can't let what they stood for and their character and their morals just go out the window because they're no longer here. He was taken from us too soon, and he has a family. He had a wife and kids. I have pictures of his son Nolan playing with my kid Tristan at the time. It's just a lot in there, but not only was he a friend and a family friend, he was a great leader in his time. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about him and the things that he believed and what he did or what he kind of shown me in life. And it was kind of like we were completely opposites. We were exactly opposites of leaders and the types of things that we did and how we lived in our private lives. But then coming to work, we really bonded and resonated with each other over the same moral kind of compass and what we believed and how we performed. So again, he was a staff sergeant, Justin Templeton. He was a combat engineer. I met him in 2015. He was my sponsor going into 3ID. So I just recently got back from a combat deployment myself up in Fort Drum, 10th Mountain. We were with 1st Special Troops Battalion. So we deployed out of there, doing route clearance and all that. And then coming back, I kind of prepared myself and my family to move. And I got to Fort Stewart, and that's where I met him. He was my intake reception sergeant or whatever. He kind of showed me around, showed me the area. And it was pretty cool because we were the same rank at the time. We were both sergeants, E5. And it was how he took me coming into the unit was very special. At first, he didn't say anything about the unit. He didn't go on telling me how he felt about the unit or how horrible it was or, how much leadership he hated. So other places I've been and other military people will understand this. As leaders, it's real easy to see someone coming in and, you kind of want to vent or like, watch out for this or watch out for that. And you think you're helping them. But sometimes it's almost like you're convincing them not to like the situation or the unit or the people before they even get in the door. So sometimes it's kind of like take a step back and let that minute sit with the person. Let them make their own assumptions before you just start bombarding them with information that you think might be important. So again, going from there, met him in 2015. Immediately coming in, we did like one field problem where we are adjacent leaders to each other. So they threw me in to this unit going out to the field, engineer, sapper company. They were going out to the field. So I got there, didn't even have any gear. And they were like, well, you're going to the field with us. And I'm like, okay, I didn't even do CIF yet. So I'm trying to in process and do everything. I go to CIF, and even in CIF, like I got some gear, but I had to go. I don't know what happened. Like computers were down or something, and I didn't get all my gear. And he just had extra stuff at the house. He was in the Army a lot longer than me, and he had so much extra gear. He was like, man, come shopping, So I went to his house. He suited me up with stuff. We were complete opposites, man. He was 6 foot tall, roughly, and I was 5'4". So like nothing fit me. I had weird gear, weird stuff on. He made fun of me for it. It looked kind of like I dressed up in my dad's uniform to go to work. But it was pretty cool, man, and then we get out in the field, and he made sure that I kind of knew what was going on, because every unit has different operating procedures, SOPs, standard operating procedures. So as a leader, he could have kind of took his guys and did what he was supposed to do, and he would have been good, and everyone would have been like, good job. But instead of just doing that, he made sure, since we were kind of adjacent to each other, which also, if you don't know in the military, if you're adjacent to someone, they are also your competition. You get rated on leadership and development against each other to see who's the best. And that's what they use for higher level promotions. So again, he didn't have to help me. He didn't know me. He didn't have to do anything, but he already let me borrow a bunch of gear, which costs a lot of money, and just, in the faith that I would give it back or not lose it or not destroy it. And then after that, we get to the field and he's kind of like, hey, this is how our unit runs. And he's showing me stuff. And I'll say this, my knowledge and intellect of my profession at the time, I'd say was pretty high. And they were still doing things that were fairly old and kind of outdated and thrown out. So I'm trying to teach these new tactics and these new techniques. And he's like, whoa. Like, we can't do that because your guys are the only guys that are going to know that. And Justin himself, Templeton, he knew what I was talking about because he experienced a lot and other people didn't. So when I'm teaching these things and I have my senior leadership, what are you talking about? You're wrong. Justin was the only one there that was like, no, actually he's right. And this is how we do it now. But our SOP is different. So, he still had my back, and he was like, well, I think he appreciated my knowledge. And something, if you don't know Justin, he was always about doing the right thing. And that was his big thing. That was his big leadership philosophy, was I don't care what's your opinion or how you feel about it. He didn't really care about none of that. Even if he was super mad, he'd be kicking stuff and throwing stuff and angry about a situation or a decision. But at the end of the day, he would always tighten it up and kind of well, we got to do it anyway, and we're going to do it this way. Even though I don't agree, this is the way that we've written that we're going to do it, so that's how we're going to do it. So he was pretty by the book, but he wasn't scared to stick up for what he believed was right, and he was going to hold himself and everyone around him to that standard. And that was always something that I thought was pretty cool. And he didn't necessarily take me in oh, I'm going to mentor you. He kind of took me in hey, let me help you navigate the leadership here, because the unit we were in was kind of falling apart a little bit. And I'm not sure why. I wasn't there long enough to know. And leaders were getting fired and kicked out. And I was replacing a leader that was getting kicked out of the military. So it was kind of he was like, dude, you got all the people that we don't want. So basically, since there was no leader in a position in the squad that I was given, it was all the soldiers that everyone had problems with or complications with or just didn't want, they threw them all in this one squad, and I was a new guy coming in, so then they threw me in charge of it. So he seen that, and he knew that that was wrong. And, in leadership, a huge part of leadership or mentorship is if you have struggles and problems, you don't just throw them aside. You have to take that as a leadership hurdle. You got to jump that. You got to figure those problems and those issues out. And that was something Justin was really good about. He to his peers, he might complain and be angry and kick some sand. It was super funny watching him because he was very animated. So he wouldn't necessarily cuss a lot. And in the military, it's pretty second nature. You just cuss and you get mad, you yell about something, but no one cares. And it's just the community, the culture. Or at least where I was at that time, again, 2015, 2016. And when you're, a Sergeant E5 in the military, or at least in the Army, you're usually pretty angry because you're in charge of people who don't know anything that's going on, but you're also the first person with responsibility that they can blame everything on. So you're getting yelled at from top, you're getting complaints from the bottom, and it's just kind of you're in this shit sandwich. Temp used to get mad. That's what I used to call him, Temp, and most people, right? So he used to get super mad. And when he was really mad at someone, instead of insulting you or calling you a name or cussing at you and screaming in your face, he would just this was the worst thing in the world to him. He would look at you and he would just go, "You freaking turd." And it was he was so angry it would pop out of him, like his eyes were about to blow up. And he would be so upset. And that was you knew if he called you a turd, that was it for him. He looked at you a different way. He was leave him alone or give him some space or whatever. But I could not help it. He would get mad and say stuff like that, and I would just lose my mind laughing. And he was so mad that me laughing made him more mad. Why do you think this is funny? What are you laughing about? And I would just be like, dude, I can't. when you're flailing your arms around and you're kicking stuff and you're using words like turd or butthead, like I just can't do it, man. I can't do it. I can't take that serious. So we used to get into it a lot in like I thought it was playful. I'm sure he did not. He would get mad. I'd make fun of him for being mad. He'd get more mad. But we had a good back and forth. And whenever it was time to go to work, I'll tell you a story here in a second about his work ethic. His work ethic was a little unmatched, man. Like, he didn't shy away from being at home. He wasn't one of those leaders that didn't want to be at home, so he spent all his time at work. But when he was at work, he worked hard. But when it was time to go home, he wanted to go home. He wanted to make sure him and his guys got time with the family. So, he would always push himself and his soldiers real hard to get everything that had to get done early. And then he would try to get everyone to go home on time or a little early just to give them that family time, because he knew what it meant to them. And we were so rapidly moving. We spent no time at home, really, no time. So going forward, right, like we built a good rapport because he respected my work and I respected his work. And then eventually, a little bit after that, they put me in charge of him. And again, he spent more time in the unit. He was in the Army longer than I was. And I was fairly new to rank structure. Like, I was a leader as lower enlisted, but rank wise, like I was in about a third of the time that he was in. So he should have been in charge. So when they kind of consolidated our teams or our squads, and they were like, yo, we're going to put Rowe in charge of you. I was waiting for him to be super mad, and I was almost upset. Like, no, I don't like that, because what you're supposed to do is, like, he has the seniority, so he should be in charge. And basically, he didn't say anything about it. He said, cool, like, I'm cool with that. That's fine. And when I pulled him aside, I was like, yo, man, like, if there's an issue or something, you need to tell me now, because I don't need us to be doing demolitions or in the middle of a breach. And then that's when you don't want to listen to me because you never got that off your chest. And I was like, so whatever you got to be mad about now, let it out. And this is what kind of guy he was. He said, Jacob, he's like, I have no problems with you leading me. He was like, dude, you're phenomenal. You're smart, you're fast, you're strong, you study, you research. He was like, by far the best leader here, no matter of rank. So he was like, listen, he's like, I'll never tell anyone else I said this, but he was like, listen, man, if I'm following anyone to war and in these drills, it's going to be you. And he was like, so I'm completely okay with it. And for me, I respected him already. So it just meant a lot. And for everyone listening, if you don't know what kind of man it takes to be able to swallow your pride like that, not really contemplate how you feel about it, and just more about, like, looking at what you would consider truth and what you would consider the best possible outcome, that right there in leadership or in attributes, that was a moment of leadership that I've almost never seen again. Someone to be like, hey, man, you're really good at this stuff. I can take a step back and I can listen. And I can show everyone around here that I respect your words, because he helped me be viewed in a positive light just by the way he respected me. And if you don't know what I'm talking about in your situation, whatever you're in, if you're a business owner, if you're a coach, if you're, entrepreneur, or if you're leading anything, right? And I'll go through an example for all of them. If you're a coach on a football team, and a well-known coach comes up, shakes your hand, and then publicly says, I respect you, you're a good coach. You don't have to necessarily go prove yourself a bunch. People give you the benefit of the doubt because of this other person was like, man, I'll stake my name on you, right? Or if a well-known coach comes up and says, hey, I want you to take charge because you know this more than me. That's an immediate respect coming right from someone who's already built respect. And it means so much when you're new or up and coming. And to see someone have talent and be willing to, like, I'm going to bring you with me. I see you have value and I want you on my team is another echelon of leadership. But then going from that, right, that was the coach aspect. Let's say business. If the CEO of a company comes up and walks up to the junior manager and shakes their hand and says, amazing job. You guys are doing very well. You're crushing numbers or whatever. You're killing it. You're doing great. Thank you so much. I want not like I want to promote you, but it's like, hey, I want to take you and your team out for dinner or something. Now your team is getting recognized because of the work of the leader or the work they all did together. Again, it's just someone from a different tier or outside of you as a coach, leader, or mentor, someone outside of you showing you that trust, that respect, and that kind of positive reinforcement of like words of wisdom or affirmation. In leadership, that means so much. That means so much. And if we did that to each other more instead of trying to tear each other down or trying to be better than each other, if we were just like, hey, good point, that's awesome. Even if we didn't agree, or even if we had a different idea, hey, that's an awesome point. Can I share mine? Is it completely different than, I don't like that, do this. Like, so if we stop fighting each other, right? Because there's nothing. And again, Justin Templeton, part of his leadership philosophy was my guys will never see me arguing with another leader to like down talk them. He might, play around and be jokeful, or he'd like argue, me and him would argue, but it wasn't like about work and tactical stuff. It was about stuff like, I'd be like, I'm going to the gym. And he'd be like, I don't know why you work out so much. We get paid. We work out for an hour and a half in the morning. Why do you work out so much? So he'd make fun of me, call me a meathead. But that's not the same as like, I have a tactical opinion and he tears it down in front of a million people and tries to make me look silly. Like, he never did that stuff. And same vice versa. But it takes a special kind of leader to be able to develop those mindsets and know when to, turn it on and turn it off. So I just always appreciated that about him so much, that he was willing to take a back seat and just let me go. And then from that, we were on the same team or the same squad for a while. He was my alpha team leader. And I kind of spoke up in one of the like senior leader meetings. And I was like, hey man, he's such a good at what he does. He needs to have a squad of his own. And they're like, well, all the other squads are taken. And I was like, then you need to fire somebody because he's phenomenal. Like, you need to fire someone because I don't care about how long they've been here or the rank. He has proven himself time and time again. And he's the best. Like, why is he? And I was like, if you want to give him my squad, we can take turns. Like, he can do a month. I'll do a month, whatever. I don't care. And again, from me being willing to say that about him and kind of put my name on him, they were like, oh, okay, well, we'll look into that. And what happened, 2 of our leaders within that month got fired. One got pushed out of the Army because of a leadership failure prior in his career. And he got kind of, fired. And then the other one was on his off time, he was partying with our soldiers and got caught drinking and driving. So 2 leaders got booted. So my 2 team leaders, which was Justin and I don't have permission to use the other name. I didn't reach out to him and ask. So I'll come correct the record after I reach out to him and ask. So I won't use the other name. But my 2 team leaders both got promoted to those staff sergeant spots, to those squad leader spots, until we had new squad leaders come in. But that was phenomenal too, because again, Justin bred that kind of world, that mentality, to where he didn't let pride and ego get in the way of like good leadership or good mentorship or getting the job done or doing what was right. So he was always really, really big on all of those things. And again, so early in my career, it was just so important to me to see somebody else have attributes that I thought were important, but I didn't see very much. And I'll say this, in my younger years in the military, I did not have what I would consider great leadership or good leadership. It was a lot of people biding their times, trying to retire, trying to get to the next spot, people that didn't really know what they were doing, people that built a resume or had, were protected by tabs and awards, and they didn't really know how to do their job. They were not good at combat. They were good at pretending. And then when it came time to do the work, they would have people that were good at the work that would do the work because they were in charge, but they had no idea how to lead anything. So it was just super new to me and super refreshing. And yeah, and it really saved my mentality for the leadership and going forward in the military, because I wanted to get out, I wanted to leave, I was done, and then meeting people like Justin kind of kept me in, and that's why I stayed, because I figured, or at least I found out, like I was never gonna meet people like that anywhere else. At least in my head, I wasn't, and still to this day, it's hard for me to meet people that have those kind of mentalities. And hopefully, this is a platform and a forum where we can get together, and those kind of people will gravitate to this. But yeah, yeah, it was a real turning point in my career. I was grateful to have him in my life. Justin was an amazing man. And again, I didn't know him for real long, but in the 2 years, 3 years that we worked together, we became so close, to the point where, when he wanted to have a date night with his wife or whatever, I was watching his kids. We were hanging out. I rode Harleys and he rode dirt bikes. So the first time I ever got on a dirt bike in my life, it's like way too tall. I'm leaning over to the side. I have a leg kicked over. I'm like, Justin, I should not be doing this, man. Like, and it's like it's in the middle of the street next to his house, which was like a new development. So he's like, oh, no one cares. And it's all like, to me, it was all super nice houses and stuff. And I'm like, dude, we should not be riding this dirt bike down the road. And he's like, nah, man, it's cool. It's cool. He was like, you ride a Harley that's 800 pounds. He was like, this is a 200-pound bike. Like, it's going to feel great. And I had to jump and then start. Like, I had to jump and then throttle, because I was so short and he's tall. So I like push off the ground and throttle, and I didn't realize how easy it would be to maneuver. And it kind of felt like a bicycle, like, so I'm like, I hit down the road and I do a couple turns, and I came back, and I was like, coming back, I had to jump off the bike and hit the brakes and let the bike slow down as I kind of trotted with it, because I couldn't brake because my feet couldn't reach the ground. But again, he was just all about that, man. Like, building and breeding a team outside of work and not needing to be at work just to communicate with his guys. So he would do team building things at his house or whatever, and we would all get together and we'd eat some food or whatever. And I didn't drink, so I would always make sure everyone got home well. But that's what made us such a good team. I was always kind of like, man, I was kind of focused. I was kind of consumed by combat, and he went out of his way to pull me out of that, or try. He went out of his way to be like, hey, Jacob, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I get up at 3:30. I go to the gym before work, before physical training. And then after that, I go meet for formation, and then we do physical training, PT. And then after that, I go to work, and when I get home, I run 6 miles. So I go home, I eat a snack real quick, I run my 6 mile, and then I come home and I spend the rest of the 2 hours or whatever I have left with my family until people go to bed, or an hour or so. And he was like, Jacob, man, you can't live your life like that. And I'm like, dude, I'm fine. Like, this is just how I am. And he was always talking to me about quality of life, and not, again, just different perspectives. I'm all about being in shape. I like being strong. I like being fit. I like feeling competent. I do a lot of research. I try to spend some time alone because it's nourishing, and I feel like everyone needs moments alone. Even if you're scared of it, everyone needs moments alone. And my thought process is, the world is just full of noise. You always have a TV going. There's a radio going in the car. You're always looking at your phone. Someone's calling you, texting you. Social media is everywhere. We need silence. As human beings, you need a minute of silence. How do you even know what you think if all you do is listen to people talk and sing and do stuff all day? How many people I know turn the TV on in their home when they're alone because they just like the comfort of another voice? And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying, I think everyone would learn and adapt a little bit more in their lives if they spent some time alone, and alone in thought, and really just, you don't have to do anything, just be, right? And it doesn't have to be some meditating kumbaya thing. It's just be alone a little bit. Sit outside. Take a minute to yourself. Don't read a book even. Just be. But anyway, kind of off topic. Getting back to Justin, man, he was a great leader, and he was an even better friend. And all he really cared about and all he really talked about was building a life outside of work. his son, his wife. Those are the only things he ever really talked to me about. He didn't really care about nothing else. So, and I mean, and dirt biking, but and he was phenomenal at it. He was doing some crazy stuff, but it was awesome to watch. And he showed me all the videos and stuff. And he always wanted me to take trips with him and like go dirt biking and stuff. And I never really made the time because I didn't dirt bike much and I didn't travel with him. And any minute I had, me and my wife and kids were traveling back to Ohio to see our families. So I never really had the time to do that. And, fast forward a couple years later, I PCS to a new unit. He PCSs to a new unit. And then we lost him, right? But we're not here to talk about that. We're just here to talk about the impact he made on the people around him. And he was just a great man. And I believe it's really important that we remember these men and these types of people in our lives, because how often do we feel like we did something alone? Or how often do we feel like no one's there for us, or no one's taking care of us in our lives, or we don't have a friend, right? So there was never a time, he was kind of a pumpkin at night. He would go to bed real early. but if I called him or I needed anything, he would have been there as a friend, as a brother, as a leader. He was there for his soldiers. He always showed up. He always, if he did anything like team building, he invited everyone. It wasn't like anyone was excluded. He was always the first one to speak up if he thought something was wrong or morally incorrect. Yeah, he was just, in my opinion, he was just a great man. And we need more people like that. And for the rest of us out here, when we have these memories and these great people in our lives, it's important that we speak on it. It's important that we share it. So I think that's something we're going to start doing here is I'm going to start going through the brothers and sisters we've lost at arms, or at least soldiers. Maybe I'll traverse it farther down the road, but right now I'm going to stick to soldiers and leaderships and what their leadership philosophies were and how they lived, not just how they died, but how they lived. And we're going to do that to remember them and to be able to spread more about their types of leadership and what they believed, because it's so important. And it's just a brilliant way to honor the memory of them and how they lived, and not just how someone passed away or isn't here anymore. But yeah, Justin Templeton was a great man. His son Nolan was an awesome little kid. It's been years since I've really seen him or talked to him, so I hope all is well. And if he ever hears this, I hope he knows that his father loved him very much, and that his father really didn't care about much else other than his family, motocross or dirt biking, racing, and his service. And those were kind of the only things I could ever get that man to really talk about or care about. And I think that makes for a beautiful life and an awesome man. So, with all that being said, Jacob Rowe with the Coaches Rowe. Let's remember those who made impacts in our lives. Let's not let their memories be lost. Let's keep teaching their lessons, keep teaching and take forward what we've learned from them. And that's how we keep them alive. So remember, growth starts at failure. So fail up, fail forward, and I'll see you next time.